The history of global trade is a tapestry woven with threads of ambition, innovation, and exploitation. From the ancient spice routes to the bustling digital marketplaces of today, the desire to exchange goods and services has shaped civilizations and fueled empires. Central to this narrative are the trading companies that emerged as powerful intermediaries, bridging continents and cultures. These companies, driven by profit and ambition, left an indelible mark on the world, shaping not just economies but also societies and the environment. Their legacies, often complex and contradictory, continue to resonate in the modern era. Understanding the rise and fall of these trading giants, particularly the British East India Company, provides valuable insights into the evolution of global commerce and its enduring impact on our interconnected world. It is a journey through the corridors of history, where the echoes of the past offer valuable lessons for navigating the complexities of global trade in the present day. The story of the British East India Company is a testament to the transformative power of trade and the intoxicating allure of profit. It is a tale that spans centuries, filled with adventure, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of wealth. Founded in 1600 during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, the company began as a modest venture, a group of London merchants seeking to tap into the lucrative spice trade of the East Indies. These merchants were driven by the promise of immense riches, hoping to bring back exotic goods that would fetch high prices in European markets. Armed with a royal charter granting them a monopoly over English trade in the region, these early entrepreneurs embarked on voyages fraught with peril and uncertainty, navigating treacherous seas and navigating even more treacherous political waters. The royal charter not only provided them with exclusive trading rights but also the authority to govern and administer justice in the territories they encountered. The lure of exotic spices, silks, and other treasures from the East proved irresistible. These goods were not just commodities, they were symbols of status and power, coveted by the elite of Europe. The company's ships, laden with these precious cargoes, became a familiar sight in ports across the world. Driven by the promise of immense wealth, the company's reach and influence expanded rapidly. They established trading posts and forts, forging alliances with local rulers and sometimes engaging in conflicts to protect their interests. The company's influence was not limited to trade. It began to play a significant role in the political and social landscapes of the regions it operated in. What began as a commercial enterprise gradually morphed into a formidable force, acquiring political and military might along the way. The company raised its own armies, built fortifications, and even minted its own currency. It became a state within a state, wielding power that rivaled that of many nations. The company's ships, laden with valuable cargo, became a familiar sight in ports from the Cape of Good Hope to the shores of China, symbolizing the growing dominance of British trade in the East. These voyages were not just about commerce, they were about establishing a global presence and asserting British influence across the world. The East India Company's rise to power marked the beginning of a new era in global commerce, one where corporations wielded influence that rivaled that of nations. It set the stage for the modern multinational corporation, demonstrating how business interests could shape the course of history. The legacy of the British East India Company is a complex one, marked by both remarkable achievements and profound consequences. It played a crucial role in the development of global trade networks, but its actions also had lasting impacts on the societies and economies of the regions it touched. The story of the British East India Company is a reminder of the power of commerce and the far-reaching effects of corporate ambition. The success of the British East India Company was intricately linked to the maritime trade routes that crisscrossed the globe. These routes were the lifelines of the company's vast trading network, connecting distant lands and facilitating the exchange of goods on an unprecedented scale. These sea lanes, often perilous and unpredictable, became the arteries of a globalizing world, carrying not just goods but also ideas, cultures, and even diseases. The treacherous waters tested the mettle of sailors and the durability of ships, but the rewards were immense for those who could navigate them successfully. The company's ships, laden with silver and wool from England, sailed south along the coast of Africa, rounded the Cape of Good Hope, and then ventured eastward across the vast expanse of the Indian Ocean. This journey was fraught with danger, from unpredictable weather to the threat of piracy, but it was essential for reaching the lucrative markets of the East. Their destinations were the legendary ports of the East: Surat, Bombay, Calcutta, and Canton. These bustling hubs of commerce were gateways to the riches of Asia, where merchants from around the world converged to trade their wares. Here they exchanged their European goods for the highly sought-after treasures of the East: pepper, cloves, nutmeg, and cinnamon from the Spice Islands. These spices were not only valuable for their flavor but also for their preservative qualities, making them essential commodities in Europe. Silk, tea, and porcelain from China. The delicate silk fabrics and fine porcelain were symbols of luxury and sophistication, while tea became a staple in British culture, leading to an insatiable demand. And cotton, indigo, and saltpeter from India. Cotton was crucial for the burgeoning textile industry, indigo for dyeing fabrics, and saltpeter for making gunpowder, which was vital for military purposes. These precious commodities, once the exclusive domain of rulers and elites, gradually became more accessible to European consumers, fueling a growing demand that the East India Company was more than willing to satisfy. The influx of these exotic goods transformed European markets and lifestyles, making once rare items commonplace in households. The company's dominance of these trade routes allowed it to amass immense wealth, but it came at a cost, as the company's activities often disrupted local economies and traditional ways of life. The influx of European goods and the extraction of local resources led to significant changes in the social and economic fabric of the regions involved, sometimes resulting in exploitation and conflict. The legacy of the British East India Company is a complex one, marked by both the prosperity it brought to Europe and the profound impacts it had on the societies it touched. Section 4: Spices and Silk: The Impact on Local Economies. The arrival of the British East India Company in Asia had a profound and multifaceted impact on local economies. This influence was not just limited to the trade of goods, but extended to the very fabric of local societies and their economic structures. The company's insatiable appetite for Eastern goods created new markets and opportunities for some local producers and merchants. These markets were often bustling with activity, as local artisans and traders found new avenues to sell their goods, ranging from spices to textiles. The demand for tea, for instance, led to the expansion of tea plantations in China and India, providing employment and income for thousands. This expansion was not just a boon for the local economy, but also transformed the agricultural landscape, with vast areas being converted into tea plantations. Similarly, the trade in cotton textiles from India, particularly the famed muslin cloth from Bengal, flourished, bringing prosperity to weavers and merchants in certain regions. The intricate and delicate muslin cloth became highly sought after in European markets, leading to a surge in production and trade. However, this economic engagement was often characterized by exploitation and manipulation. The local workforce, despite their hard work and craftsmanship, frequently found themselves at the mercy of the company's demands and unfair practices. The East India Company, driven by its profit motive, used its growing influence to dictate terms of trade, often forcing local producers to sell their goods at artificially low prices. These negotiations were rarely fair, with local merchants often finding themselves in distress, unable to negotiate better terms. This practice, coupled with the company's growing political and military power, enabled it to establish monopolies in certain regions, stifling competition and undermining local industries. The presence of British soldiers enforcing trade laws further solidified the company's control, leaving little room for local businesses to thrive independently. The result was a complex and often contradictory economic landscape, where some benefited from the new trading opportunities while others faced exploitation and economic marginalization. The stark contrast between the wealth generated by trade and the poverty experienced by many local communities highlighted the uneven impact of the East India Company's presence. While some regions saw economic growth and prosperity, others were left grappling with the negative consequences of colonial exploitation and monopolistic practices. This duality in economic outcomes underscores the profound and lasting impact of the British East India Company on local economies in Asia. Section 5. The Shadow of Monopoly: Ethical Implications. The immense wealth and power accumulated by the British East India Company came at a heavy ethical cost. The company's pursuit of profit often trumped any consideration for the well-being of the people and lands it encountered. The company's monopoly over trade, backed by its growing military might, allowed it to act with impunity, often resorting to coercion, intimidation, and even violence to secure its interests. The company's involvement in the opium trade is a particularly dark chapter in its history. Recognizing the huge profits to be made, the company began cultivating opium in India and smuggling it into China, despite the devastating social consequences. The ensuing addiction crisis in China, coupled with the company's aggressive efforts to force open Chinese markets, led to the Opium Wars, a series of conflicts that had a devastating impact on China and further cemented the West's economic and political dominance in the region. The East India Company's legacy is thus one of both economic innovation and ethical transgression, a stark reminder of the potential consequences when corporate greed goes unchecked. And before we wrap up, if you're intrigued by the power dynamics of trade, check out our previous episode on the Veiled Ostindische Compagnie, the first corporation that changed history forever. And make sure to subscribe because next week we'll dive into the impact of global trade on local economies, exploring how these giants continue to shape our everyday lives. Thank you for watching Veiled Histories. Don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts on trade companies. Until next time, keep uncovering the stories of our past.